Some of the greatest scientific breakthroughs have been accidentally discovered. Sometimes what seems to be a mistake or an error ends up changing the world or something we just can't live without. However, sometimes lab workers or scientists get lucky and accidentally discover a scientific principle or breakthrough which would otherwise have remained unknown. Here are 10 accidental inventions that have, without a doubt, changed our lives. Number 1. X-rays. X-rays were first observed in 1885 by German physicist Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen. Röntgen accidentally made this discovery while conducting an experiment testing whether cathode rays would pass through glass. After covering the glass cathode tubes he was using for his experiment, he noticed a glow coming from a nearby chemically coated screen. He also found that the glow could also pass through books and papers on his desk. He was unsure what rays were causing the glow, so he dubbed them X-rays for the time being, and the name stuck. Number 2. Microwave. Percy Spencer was an ex-American Navy engineer known to be an electronics genius. While working in the early 1940s, Spencer walked in front of a magnetron, a vacuum tube bed to generate microwaves, and the engineer was doing his job as usual when he noticed that the candy bar in his pocket had melted. After a few more experiments, Spencer successfully invented the first microwave oven in 1945. Number 3. Gunpowder. Most of these accidental discoveries came about as a result of scientists trying to create something else. In the 9th century, Chinese alchemists couldn't have been further from success when they accidentally developed gunpowder. They mixed 75 parts saltpeter with 15 parts charcoal and 10 parts sulfur. This mixture had no discernible life-threatening properties, but it did explode with a flash and a bang when exposed to an open flame. Gunpowder was of many different types, such as blinding powder, flying powder, violent powder, poison powder, bruising, and burning powder. Number 4. Teflon. For nearly 80 years, our everyday lives have been improved by a resin called polytetrafluoroethylene, or PTFE. The discovery of the first non-stick technology started with research on another kitchen staple, the refrigerator, while trying to invent a better coolant gas. After leaving a batch of gas overnight, he arrived in the morning to find the gas had polymerized spontaneously, leaving a slippery, waxy solid with remarkable properties. Impenetrable to corrosive acids, excellent performance in extremely high and low temperatures, and did not dissolve in solvents. The rest is non-stick history. Number 5. Penicillin. In 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. A mold had developed on an accidentally contaminated Staphylococcus culture plate. Upon examination of the mold, he noticed that the culture prevented the growth of staphylococci. Fleming first used purified penicillin to treat streptococcal meningitis in 1942. The first patient, Albert Alexander, a 43-year-old policeman, was treated with penicillin on the 12th of February 1941, and in 1942 were the first burn patients who were successfully treated with penicillin. He got a Nobel Prize in 1945 in physiology. Number 6. Pacemaker. The first cardiac pacemaker was invented by a Canadian electrical engineer, John Hobbs. He stumbled on it by mistake while researching the effects of radiofrequency heating on battling hypothermia in 1941. He found that if the heart stopped beating when its temperature dropped, it could be restarted artificially using mechanical or electrical stimulation. If there was one dumb move that has saved countless lives, it was the one made by Wilson Greatbatch. He pulled the wrong part out of a box of equipment, plugged it into a circuit, and it was the beginning of the practical, implantable pacemaker. Number 7. Chewing gum. The year was 1870. Thomas Adams was experimenting with chicle, the sap from a South American tree, as a substitute for rubber. After mounting failures, the dejected inventor popped a piece into his mouth. Big discovery? He liked it. As a result, Adams New York number 1 became the first mass-produced chewing gum in the world. Number 8. Safety glass. It all started in 1903 when a French chemist, Edouard Benedictus, accidentally knocked an empty glass flask off of a shelf. Though it hit the ground and he heard the shatter of glass, it did not shatter, but only cracked. He wondered how an empty glass flask could have clung together like that. It was then that he learned from his assistant that the flask had once been full of piston fluid made from cellulose nitrate. Although the liquid had evaporated, the inside of the flask still contained a thin coating that was holding the pieces of glass together. Benedictus used his discovery to create the first ever shatterproof glass. In World War I, safety glass was first used as lenses for gas masks and later reached its well-known application as car windshields. Number 9. Synthetic dye. While attempting to create an artificial quinine to treat malaria in 1856, teenage student William Perkins accidentally discovered a synthetic dye. Instead of quinine, his beakers were left filled with a dirty brown sludge. When Perkins cleaned out those beakers with alcohol, the brown sludge became a bright, rich fuchsia purple dye. He successfully isolated this purplish color, creating the world's first synthetic dye, Movine. Before Perkins' discovery, dyes had to be sourced from plants, metals, or organic materials, at significant cost and effort. This discovery was the beginning of chemistry advances that made bright, inexpensive synthetic color available to the masses. Number 10. Anesthesia. Dr. William Morton is credited with the initial discovery of general anesthesia. Before his discovery, nitrous oxide, or laughing gas, had been used as a weaker form of anesthesia, and it wasn't strong enough and effective as general anesthesia. He discovered when animals inhaled sulfuric, which is known as ethyl, they passed out and became unresponsive. Morton anesthetized a young male patient in a public demonstration at Massachusetts General Hospital. The hospital's chief surgeon then removed a tumor on the left side of the jaw. The patient didn't move or complain, much to the surgeon's and audience's great surprise. So began the story of general anesthesia, which is one of the greatest discoveries of all time. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to check out the top 10 highest paying jobs without a degree on the channel.